This is a digital story of graphic novels, specifically the graphic novel The Arrival by Sean Tan. The digital story is taught and narrated by Amalia Ricard. The digital story will work as a guide for students in making their own digital story about a graphic novel. They will either narrate a graphic novel in a digital story form, or they will choose pictures to create a graphic novel story of their own in a digital story format. The Arrival by Sean Tan is a graphic novel with only pictures, no words. The pictures work to tell a story about a family and their transition to a new place. In order to survive this new place, the main character must learn how to speak a new language, find a job, and adjust to eating new foods. Along the way, he meets other characters who help him become his friends, and at the end of the novel, we see him to be rejoined with his lovely daughter and wife. The Arrival is one example of the many graphic novels out there. Graphic novels are also called comic books. Some graphic novels that students may be familiar with are superhero comics, Persepolis, and Mouse. These books use words and or pictures to tell the reader a story, which is different from the more traditional novels that we see in schools today. The Arrival does not use any words to tell a story. Not every graphic novel is like The Arrival, and some graphic novels use words and pictures to tell a story. However, words used in graphic novels are usually written in short captions or word bubbles instead of long paragraphs. The way we read graphic novels is different from how we read other pieces of literature. Since The Arrival has no words and only pictures, we need to talk about how we are supposed to read this novel. Reading a graphic novel with no words and only pictures can be simple and complicated at the same time. It is simple because all you have to do is look at the pictures. However, it can also be complicated because you have to look at the pictures carefully. Plus, the pictures go in a certain order, and in order to understand the story fully, we need to follow the order of the pictures correctly. We are now going to look at a couple of pictures from The Arrival. I will describe what is seen in each picture. After I describe what I see in each picture, I will create a story of what I think is happening in the picture based on the details I see in the picture. We will discuss what this skill is later on in the digital story video. In this picture, we see a couple standing around a table closing a suitcase. The table has teacups and a teapot next to the suitcase. The couple's faces look sad and their hands are touching. In the background, we see a hat, a towel, a clock, a paper bird, containers, a stove with a pot on it. The story I see being told is a picture of a couple saying goodbye to each other. The husband and wife are traveling somewhere. However, the goodbye is not a bad goodbye. It's only sad because the couple will be apart for an unknown period of time. This next picture will help us understand how to read graphic novels when panels are used to tell the story. We start by looking at the top panel on the left side and we move to the right. In the first picture, we see a dad putting his arm around his daughter holding a paper bird. Next, we see the dad and daughter hugging each other. In the third panel, we see the little girl standing alone holding her paper bird. In the fourth panel is the mother crying into a tissue. The next panel shows the dad and the mother hugging each other. This leads into the sixth panel where the dad is saying something to the mother. The seventh panel shows the dad getting in the train. The eighth panel is the dad's hand reaching out and the little girl's hand holding his, until the ninth panel where their hands start to part. The last three panels are the train traveling off into the distance. The 12 panels tell a story about the husband saying goodbye to his wife and daughter as he begins his travels. Before leaving, the husband gives his daughter a gift of a paper bird and whispers words of comfort to his wife. When I look at pictures and come up with a story, I am making an inference. In order to read graphic novels, we have to make inferences, especially when there are no words. An inference is a conclusion reached on the basis of evidence and reasoning. The evidence is what we see in the picture, and based on what we see in the picture, we think of the reasons for what is happening or being shown. By doing so, we are able to understand the story that the pictures are telling to us. Inferences can be wrong. If we do not use the information correctly, to be right, we need to use evidence, what we see, schema, what we know, and inference, what we figured out. For example, the 12 panels we looked at before, the evidence in the picture shows the mother crying, the father and the mother hugging and talking, the daughter and father talking and hugging. We see this father step on the train, hands slipping apart. We figured out that the father is going somewhere without the mother or daughter. That's how we make the correct inference. We look at the evidence shown, and by looking at the evidence shown, we are then able to use our schema, what we know about because we know certain things about that evidence, to then make connections and figure out what is happening in the scene. We can also make connections to other texts, ourselves, and the world when making inferences about a text. And that can be helpful. Connections are a part of our schema, or what we know. For example, in the picture where the father and mother are standing around the table with the suitcase, we know the suitcases are something people use to pack up their things when they're going on a trip. We can use our connections to develop our understanding of what is happening in the picture. So, suitcases mean we're going somewhere. He's packing a suitcase. Clearly, he is getting ready to travel somewhere. To make good inferences, we need to look at the picture carefully. In order to look at a picture carefully, you need to pay attention to all the details shown in the picture. The details you need to pay attention to are the characters' facial expressions, setting, color used in the pictures, items in the pictures, and the characters' actions. Also pay attention to any connections between the pictures. Pictures are working together to tell a story, so some connection must be involved. Now that we've talked about how to read a graphic novel when making inferences, I want you to make a digital story. In your digital story, you're going to pick pictures from the internet or a graphic novel. You will organize the pictures in your digital story to tell a story. Then you record your voice to narrate the story that the pictures are telling. Your digital story must include 10 to 15 pictures. Your digital story must be 2 to 5 minutes long. You must write a paragraph about 2 inferences you made in order to create your story. Remember to have fun and be creative.